Good afternoon to one and all present here, and thank you, Dr. Kavi Shankar, for giving me this opportunity to share whatever I know actually. Okay, thank you. Bala Subramanian sir, is my slide visible? Just
yes, ma'am. Yes.
Thank you, sir.
Slide is visible, ma'am. Slide is visible. You can put a
Slide. Yes.
slide.
Okay. Yeah. Thanks. So coming to the blockchain, hope you had a good introduction for the past 2 days about what is a blockchain, how it is being deployed, what is the block. Limited applications at this for how it is being used. What is the importance of blockchain? So in this session, we will be focusing more on the blockchain, how it is being used in the automobile manufacturing sector, and how it is, mainly how it is related in the supply chain management. Okay, so before starting with, I would like to share with you a small story, which is actually not perfectly related to automobile manufacturing, just an introduction to blockchain. Okay, I would like to share with you a story of Mr. Charles Schramm, who was born on November 25th, 1989. Okay, in Brooklyn, New York City, in the United States. And he was alma mater of Yeshiva Flatbush High School, Brooklyn College. And his occupation was, earlier he was a founder CEO of BitInstant, then vice chairman of Bitcoin Foundation, founder and CTO of Intellisys Capital, director of business and community development, and later on he was a founder of Crypto IQ. And looking into his occupation, 2011 to 13, 12 to 14, 16 to 17, everything, 17 to present, all these are here. But you could see the gap that is between 14 to 16. What was he doing during the year 2014 to 16? Yes, that we will look into it on January 26, 2014, or when he was returning from Commerce Convention, he was arrested at JFK Airport. Why he was arrested? Actually, the prosecutors alleged him that Schramm was laundering 1 million worth of Bitcoins. He was helping the users of the Silk Road marketplace anonymously. He was making some illegal purchase. He was convicted for that and he was put in prison. And the accusations were operating an unlicensed money transaction, some transmitting business, money laundering, all this conspiracy were against him. And he was convicted and subsequently he was put in jail. He was in jail on March 30th, 2015, and finally he was released from prison around June 2016. That was a gap he had in his occupation. When he was in prison, I just want to tell you how Bitcoin's cryptocurrencies evolved and what is the reason behind this, what is a ledger, why do we go for a distributed ledger? Just to tell, to explain you about this, I would like to narrate the story. And when he was in prison, obviously we know there will be limited paper money in the prison, finite amount of money only a prisoner can have, that he can get from the relatives from outside the prison. Earlier, what they do is they will be trading with exchange of things. Okay, so what they can do is the prisoner can buy up to 14 packets of mackerel per week. Mackerel is a type of fish. Okay, and it's worth $1.5, and up to only 14 packets of mackerel he can get. Okay. And for exchanging things and for doing certain things, what they do is they exchange the protein bar, peanut butter, mackerels. These were the currencies which were used for trading in the prison. To do even small things like to get a small haircut or to get any work done from the fellow prisoners within the prison, they will be making use of these things as currencies. Okay, mackerel is the most commonly accepted. It will be considered as the expensive one. Okay, so physical mackerel, again, they have limitations in the prison because how safe are these commodities in the prison? What will be the shelf life? Because it's a fish, right? So what will be the shelf life of that mackerel? How much they can get it? How much they can trade it? Okay? And if it is an excess quantity, sometimes the police may seize it. All these are there. All these drawbacks are there. So they thought, what if mackerel could be like a Bitcoin? That means instead of having a physical mackerel, they can use digital mackerel, digital currencies. It is not physically existing, right? So the revolutionary idea behind this is the Bitcoin, how the Bitcoin system will keep track of where the money is, okay? And how we are going to track where those mackerels are. We are not going to use a physical mackerel. We are just going to have a digital mackerel. How we track now, and we don't have computers in prison. And we should keep a record of all these transactions, these mackerel transactions. And it has to be written in a notebook. And there comes the need for a ledger. And who will have that ledger? Okay, we are going to record all the mackerel transactions in a notebook. That is called as a ledger. But who will have that ledger? Because trust is an important issue in the prison, because all are criminals. We cannot rely on somebody. No centralized authority is there, and they cannot trust anyone inside the prison, right? So no one is in charge of that ledger. So there comes the concept of a distributed ledger. Lot of inmates with their ledger, they can track each of the transaction. That means everyone is in charge. Okay, whoever is there in the prison, all are in charge. They do not trust anybody. There comes the process of distributed ledger. So I just want to share this story, which will be the reason for evolution of Bitcoin ledgers, distributed ledgers.
Excuse me, ma'am. Sorry to interrupt.
Yes.
Ma'am, if you could put the slideshow, it will be also better, ma'am. Slideshow.
Is it not? Okay, one second, sir. Is the slide moving, sir? I think I am in the wrong. I have shared the wrong.
Slide is moving, ma'am.
But yes, okay, sir. 1 second.
Okay.
I will unshare and share. One second. Is the slideshow visible now, sir?
Yeah, yes, ma'am. Working.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. So finally, after coming out of the prison, he started Intellisys Capital, which actually it buys the private companies in US. Share will be sold on in terms of on the blockchain, and the blockchain will create the ability for the individuals to take the private companies. All this will happen, and later on we dissolved that also in 2017. And presently he is running Crypto IQ, and the podcast Untold Stories are there. A lot of things are there. And moving on to the blockchain for industries, we'll be focusing mainly on supply chain, but various industry applications are there, like automotive, banking and financial services, government, healthcare, insurance, media, entertainment, retail and consumer goods, telecommunications, travel and transport. All these are there in the coming under the industry applications. And moving on further, the various industries, we will be focusing more in the automotive sector, and we will be focusing on the supply chain basically. Okay, so coming into the automotive, they drive innovative mobility services are there, supply chain traceability and more secure financial transactions are carried out. And this is how the blockchain is used in the automotive sector. And coming to the banking and financial services, we know that it brings in trust, simplicity, and it also had enhanced customer experience in the financial services. And government maintaining the records, maintaining the accuracy of the public records, all these are there in the applications of blockchain in government. Coming to the blockchain application in healthcare, it is helpful in streamlining the clinical data across various organizations, and it can also enable the patients to have a control over the medical data and to have an enhanced and to have an increase in the quality of the care given by the hospitals. And coming to the insurance, if we see, it is blockchain is actually revolutionizing the trust, which will be helpful, which will be supporting the insurance sector with an immutable, which is the property of the blockchain, immutable foundation of, it will give a transparency also. And media entertainment also, it is building an ecosystem. It is being used for advertising and other activities. And coming to the retail and consumer goods, blockchain actually it is reinventing the product authenticity, and it is also ensuring the operational excellence, and it is enhancing the consumer experience. And coming to the telecommunication, it is blockchain is actually reshaping the approaches of data privacy. It is improving the operational efficiency here as well. It is attracting newer customers and even improving their experience. And travel and transport also, it is being used for streamlining the operations of the travel and give a personalized care they can have, and they can have their comfortable travel and the transport activities. So these are the overall applications of the blockchain, industry applications of blockchain. And why blockchain for supply chain? It is helpful in resolving the issues faster. And above all, the most important is it is building trust and stronger relationships. Supply chain, we have to deal with the suppliers, the customers. If you take any organization, it has to be discussed with, it has to have a relationship with the suppliers. They have to have relationship with the customers always. So it is helpful in building a trust and stronger relationship with among the organization and with the suppliers and the customers. So what are the challenges in the automotive sector which are existing, which will be solved to some extent, at least by bringing in blockchain? These are the great challenges which we face in the automotive sector. One is the mobility service, second one is the supply chain, and third one is the finance. So coming to the mobility services, if you see, just a second. Sir, I'm just confirming, slideshow is visible, sir, because I am not getting it properly. It's not changing.
Ma'am?
Is the slideshow coming, sir? Because
No, ma'am.
it's not changing. Slide is changing, sir.
Yes. Slide is changing.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, 1 second, sir. So coming to the challenges, first we say that it is a mobility service. Yes. What for the mobility service is a challenge now in the automotive industry is that the cars are not just standalone transportation device nowadays. They are networked. They are considered as the network software platforms on wheels, right? So vehicles are, they have to incorporate secure, seamless mobility service. They have to handle micropayments. They have to interact with ride-sharing services. Smart transportation is there. Smart transportation infrastructure is there. And now we also have electric vehicle charging. All these are challenges because of the mobility. Now, no more the cars are standalone devices. They are now now network software platforms on wheels. We consider like that. So blockchain could be a could be a solution for these challenges. Even we had some blockchain which has the e-wallet services. They can use for electric charging, parking, for tolls, even for payment between the vehicles. For all this, already they have use blockchain, which will be giving you the permissioned access. Now, rather than going for a permissionless blockchain, they will be going in for a permissioned access. And coming to the supply chain, it is auto manufacturing is now purely global, right? So parts of for a particular vehicle is made somewhere worldwide, and the completed vehicles, they are completing the vehicle somewhere in some country, in some corner of the world, and the completed vehicles will be driven anywhere on the earth, right? So to contend with the counterfeit parts and the defect driven, sometimes if there is a defect, okay, right, the completed part is done, I mean, completing the process is done somewhere else in some other country, and the completed vehicle is driven anywhere on the earth now. So if there is a fault, if there is a defect, then there will be a recall, and how we are going to communicate with the country where their production is actually done. We have to trace the vehicles. Sometimes if there is a recall in any automotive industry, they have to track the vehicles. It may be driven anywhere in the world, and it has to be traced, and they have to recall. For all this, all these are challenging now to maintain the safety and the reliability. The automotive industry, the producers, the makers, they have to track the vehicle movements for regulators and the purchases. How it could be done, that blockchain can be a great help, great solution for this type of challenges which they face in the automotive industry. Even I have heard that, Boeing is maintaining such type of thing where who are all the vendors and who are all the aircraft owners, how they're going to maintain it. The same can be used in the automotive sectors as well. And the next promising challenge is the finance, which we have seen. In finance, if you see, yes, actually, they have a lot of orders, parts are all being ordered, fleet purchase, everything is there. So everything, all involves finance, and all involves, managing the credits, arranging the insurance coverage. So every step, each and every step of the automotive supply chain, if you see, it is involving the payments, right? So blockchain's traceability and the transparency will make it perfect for keeping track of all the transactions. Blockchain can keep track of all the transactions, that the drive, purchase, shipping arrangement, then dealer transactions, then any micro payments and mobility services, all this. You can have a blockchain backed smart contract, which can, more than this traceability, tracking, and visibility, we can also go ahead with the blockchain smart contracts. We can just go to, we can just include the funds. Only on satisfactory delivery, they can release the funds. Even that can be done using the blockchain smart contracts. So this is how the blockchain can be a solution for the challenges which are existing in the automotive industry. So coming to the next, yes. Moving into, among all these challenges, we are taking up the supply chain for today's talk. So supply chain in the automotive sector, basically supply chain integration has 3 dimensions. One is the supplier integration, then process integration, and the third one is the customer integration. So, and we also have a lot of development in the ICT sector, that is the, a lot of inventions in the ICT. Actually, we are incorporating information and communication technologies. There is a vast development in recent years in that field, and that also helped us to make the supply chain process more efficient, and we are integrating the blockchain with that. So blockchain, it is actually an organizational capability which will be integrating all the supply chain assets and the resources, thereby adding the value to the activities like product tracking, information sharing, and they also provide transparency in the supply chain transactions. So blockchain technology is going to build a trustworthiness and reliability in the supply chain network. When it can also be integrated with other cutting edge technologies like cloud computing, or it can also be integrated with the robotic system, Internet of Things, even big data. All this can be done. Okay, so it can be integrated, cybersecurity, all simulations, prototype, everything we can incorporate. So we can have a significant impact on the supply chain process with respect to the automotive industry. So coming to this 3 dimensions, we will be focusing on these three dimensions for today's talk. That is the customer integration, supplier integration, and the process integration. Yes, obviously, this 3 dimensions we can even further categorized into external integration as well as internal integration. And coming to the customer integration first, it is actually how the firm or the organization or the industry is going to collaborate with its customers so that it can improve the visibility, and it can also enable mutual planning based on their needs. How they can be involved in the process. So for mutual planning also it can be used. We have a bi-directional flow of process between the industry and the customer. So we will be getting the feedback, flow of information, service and materials will be the flow will be there between the company and the customers. And also we have information flowing from the customers and the company, and that customer integration will help the organization to develop accurate forecast. What will be the demand, how the demand will fluctuate, and they can adapt to the demand fluctuations based on this customer integration. So blockchain can play an important role in tracking to improve the visibility and also to gain the customer relationships. And coming to the supplier integration, it is actually refers to the supplier integration is with the partners, with the suppliers who is going to give you the parts to the company or the industry. Okay, so they are going to, the suppliers will be giving their inter-organizational practices, what are the procedures they have, strategies, okay, and the behaviors, what is the cost of the delivery, how quickly they can deliver, all this. So this supplier integration will be helpful in enhancing the knowledge, sharing the uncertainty, transaction cost, inventory cost, and everything. And coming to the process integration, these 3 play a key role. Okay, this is supplier integration, customer, and this. And these 3 is going to play a key role in this. So process integration, if we see, it is going to provide easy access, process the entire process, how it is being manufactured. So the easy access to the, it will have easy access to firm's integrated database. Okay, it will be interconnecting all the departments of the firm or of the industry. Integrated information system will be there, and this process integration is going to provide all the department access to real-time information. So that will be helpful in tracking and retrieving what is the inventory status throughout the supply chain, all this. So these studies will be have identified that the we had all we can go through all these in the inventory status, everything. So this prove that the process integration improves the both the things, that is upstream supplier and the downstream customer integration. Both will be taken care. Yeah, so blockchain technology adaptation in manufacturing firm, it is very essential to have a synchronized flow of product as well as information, as well as across the supply chains. So this is what supplier integration, they will be establishing strategic partnerships with the key suppliers. They will include the key suppliers in the planning and goal setting activities. Yes, and they will be creating an environment. Above all, we said it is a trust and the benefit with the suppliers, and use that information technology to share real-time information with the key suppliers. Okay. And they can also seek the guidance. They can involve the key suppliers in jointly solving a problem, and they can involve the suppliers in the product design, in the development as well. And customer integration also, they'll be establishing the strategic partnership with key customers, and they can involve the key customers also in improving the organizational process, And here again, they are going to create an environment of trust and benefit with the customers. And they can use the information technology to strengthen the linkage. Yes, we can forecast the demand, what will be the, we can foresee what will be the demand. Everything can be done with the customer integration. What is their need? What is their requirement? What is their expectation? Everything, the tracking and the visibility is greatly enhanced with the blockchain. And they involve the customers in the product design as well as in the development. Just as the suppliers, the customers will also be involved in the product design and the development. So the key benefits of blockchain and supply chain, it is increasing the supply chain transparency. It is able to build a resilient blockchain, and it is streamlined supplier onboarding. That is an important advantage, that is a benefit which we see in the using the blockchain. So increase supply chain transparency in the sense, supply chain network, it can be limited to the visibility, right? So through the distributed ledger, we have a distributed ledger concept in blockchain, right? So through the distributed ledger technology, it will be providing a shared single version of truth will be there. Okay, so blockchain solution will give the permission blockchains greater visibility across all the supply chain activities, throughout the activities, and it is able to build a resilient supply chain in the sense, even one unexpected event, it will cause a cascading array of the entire supply chain will be disrupted, right? So this blockchain will provide a solution which will be using the smart contracts, which will automatically trigger. What is the details of the smart contract? We will just see in the upcoming slides. So it is going to use the smart contracts, which will automatically trigger. When some predefined business conditions are met, then it will be automatically triggered. Okay, so the unexpected event, cannot create the disruption in the blockchain, in the supply chain. So blockchain will take care of that. This will give real-time visibility into the operation, and it will be helpful to take appropriate action earlier than it is expected. And coming to the streamline onboarding, newer supplier on board, what is consumed, okay, what are the who are the buyers, who are the suppliers, what is the speed of the process, where we have a counterfeit, all this can be streamlined on board using the blockchain. Okay, so these are the benefits of using a blockchain in the supply chain. And coming to the smart contract, what is a smart contract? It is a computer program which can oversee all the aspects of an agreement. Okay? And it is actually a set of promises. It is just a set of promises which is specified in the digital form. Okay, it is like an agreement. It is a computer program. Okay, it will include the protocols within which the parties will be performing on that. They will be coming to an agreement. They will be promising actual agreement will be there. It is like a protocol within which the parties will perform on their promises, and it will include the contractual clauses to secure the public relationship in a blockchain network. Okay, so the contract breaches will become expensive or prohibited. This can be done, and it is basically used to automate the execution of an agreement so that all the participants can be immediately certain of the outcome. This is how the smart contract work. It is an automatic, autonomous execution. Trustless execution. We have default backups. It avoids actually the manual errors. No middleman is involved in the smart contract. So they can automate the workflow. They can trigger the new action when certain conditions are met. This is this is why it's being used in the supply chain. When certain conditions are met, they will be, we can automate that. We can automate the workflow. When certain conditions are met, when certain things happen in the supply chain, certain operations will be carried out, will be triggered by means of this smart contracts. Okay, so basically it is working on the simple procedure of if, when, then statements only. Okay, if this happens, if when this happens, this will be automated, this will be executed. Okay, this is how it is done, written into the blockchain. So benefits, again, we will have the speed, efficiency, accuracy. These are prominent benefits. And then trust and transparency, security, savings, all these are considered as the benefits of the smart contracts. Yes, applications of smart contracts, if we take, it can reimagine dispute resolution. It can bring trust to trade finance. It can build a resilient supply chain. That's why we make use of the smart contracts dominantly in the supply chain. We can reinvent back letters of guarantee. Yes. What are the advantages of a smart contract, and how far it is different from the traditional contracts? Traditional contracts, if we take, it will take 1 to 3 days for a traditional contract to execute. That traditional agreement, which we really make, which we actually make. But if we go ahead with the smart contracts, it will be carried out in a minute of time. Manual remittance is there in the traditional contracts. Smart contracts, we have already seen it is an automatic process. Automatic remittance will be there. When certain conditions are met, it will be automated. It is a program which is being executed when certain conditions are met. And escrow is necessary. It may not be necessary in the smart contract. And traditional contracts will be expensive. It also involves a lot of, many days are involved. Cost is involved. It is expensive. But smart contract, only a fraction of cost when compared to the traditional contracts. Yes, physical presence is really needed for traditional contracts. That is a wet signature, but that is eliminated completely in the smart contracts. We do have only digital signature, so virtual presence is sufficient. Obviously, we have some lawyers who will be executing the traditional contracts. Some legal people will be there. But smart contracts, lawyers are not necessary. And it is very easy, automatic. So these are the advantages of smart contracts over the traditional contracts. Okay, so we have seen how the blockchain is being used in the supply chain in the industry. Even not only in the supply chain, general applications, we have a lot of applications in addition to automotive industry. It is being used in many industries. And in automotive, especially, if we see not only in blockchain, it is involved in other stages in the automotive industry as well, in finance, in knowing the customers, like that. And specifically in supply chain, it is completely used. Blockchain can be used. But what is the challenges we face? All these are advantages. We have seen that we can use blockchain for this, that. Is it really fully 100% utilized in the automotive? To some extent, they have extended. They have a private blockchain and they use it. Okay, Supplier will be having their own private blockchain network, and it's being used, but not predominantly, because of the following challenges. Okay, these are the challenges which we face in the blockchain. First thing, it does not eliminate all type of fraud. And then hope you have seen how what are the consensus algorithm you have, how it is being whenever a new node comes in, new transaction we are going to start, how it is going to be validated, how it is included in the block, what are the computations involved. All this hope you have seen in the last 2 days. And once you verify it, put them in the network, no customer protection is there after verification. Yeah, only when they are coming into the network, you're validating, verifying, and then including in the network. After that, no customer protection is there after verification. And the main problem which is in blockchain is the scalability. If we want to increase, for example, blockchain is being used in IoT, okay, for IoT security and all, blockchain is used. But the problem is scalability. When IoT, if you take day by day, every day new devices are pulling in, and the scalability is very high in IoT. But if we use a blockchain, scalability, the size increasing is really a problem, which is which is enforcing a limitation of the blockchain being deployed in many applications. And the main disadvantage is the power consumption. That is actually the power consumed for evaluating, doing the computation and then including in the validating and including in the blockchain, right? So that involves a lot of power because very complex computations are made. A lot of power is consumed for that computation. Okay. And we don't have a proper government regulatory bodies. We don't have correct policies helping us to use blockchain in a more comfortable way. And still, I say that blockchain is in the immature state. As far as India is concerned, it's still in the immature state. And still, we don't have a proper government regulation which will support blockchain, which is telling that, which is giving us the rules and regulations or the policies of blockchain. So, these are the challenges which we face. Though we speak blockchain can be used in this banking, financial sectors, generally in healthcare applications, automotive sectors, everything, but there are limitations, which it is still in the immature state. There is still a way to go. With this, I'll conclude my presentation, and I would like to take up any questions if you have. And followed by this, Mr. Balasubramanian will be giving you how you can implement a smart contract using the Solidity. Before that, if you have any
I think no questions is there, ma'am. Probably after the practical session,
okay.
they will be asking questions.
Okay. Thank you. And shall I stop sharing, sir, so that Bala sir can?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Yes, sir, my PPT is visible.
Yes, sir.
Good evening, guys. So for today's session, it's hands-on on Solidity. So previously, you in last session, ma'am informed about that smart contract, how it works and all. So before I start with that Solidity, anyone tell what are the wallets or the crypto wallets? Okay, so it's a hands-on session. I request everyone do that experiments. So I start with that MetaMask. It's the crypto wallet. You can download that MetaMask in your browser. It's the Google Chrome extension. I already downloaded that MetaMask. So it's our MetaMask. I expanded that view. For in this MetaMask, you have many test networks are there. I use the Robson test network. Here you can create your account. For this MetaMask, you can transfer your ethers from one account to another account. So for here I created one account. So initially it's got 0 ethers. So you just click on here. It's your address values. So you want to buy some ethers, you click that buy. you go to test FACNAT. Okay, so some errors will be there. Some alternate websites are there for buying the test ethers. You use that fact.dropson.be. Then you copy that your address, your from address. Then you paste it over here. Send me the test ethers. Here you can buy your test ethers. Sometimes that screen, the networks, it's slow. Or you can send some ethers to this account from the previous accounts. So in that Bala, I have some accounts. Okay, so from here, transfer between, it's my own account. So I transfer some ethers to SRM. So for example, I transfer 0.4 ethers from that SRM account. So I confirm the transactions. So you check that status. So it's pending. It's transfer the ethers to SRM account. It takes few minutes. So after the transaction, you have how much amount of gas is utilized for the transactions, then what the from address to address, everything it's there in that history. So participants, kindly you execute that same way. So it's transaction details. So this is that from address and to address. Unknowns values, amount of the ethers are transferred 0.4. Then gas limits, gas used, that basic fees, all the transaction details are there. Okay, so you just copy that from address, then you check with that Dropson ether scan. From that ether scan also you can check your transactions details. Okay, so in 1 minute ago we are transferred that 0.4 ethers. So this is the from address and to address. Okay, you can check all the transaction in Dropson etherscan.io. For this ethers, it's not the original ethers. Commonly that one ether values one ether values around 3,09,383. Okay, so we can't buy for our simulation works in real ethers. So these are all the test ethers. You can use that test ethers. Okay, for NCLE in SRM workshop, it's the 0. So I transfer in my other accounts to that SRM account. So it's received from that details. So this the transaction details which are received. So now I open the Solidity. For Solidity is the object-oriented programming language. Okay, it is similar to the JavaScript. So normally in all the programming languages, you are you have that variable declarations, then definitions, then functions for especially in object-oriented programs, you used constructors and inheritance methods. So all the concepts you are used in this Solidity. So for Solidity, you no need to download any specific software. Within that online platform, you can execute your code. I share that link to link in chat box. So kindly open. remix.ethereum.org. Okay, so in this platform, you execute your Solidity codes. So this is that workspace. Here it's the file explorer. You are all the files which are you are created for the Solidity. It's there. The next one is compiler. After writing the code, you have to compile your programs. In this compiler, these are all the various versions of compilers there. You can choose any one of the compilers. So that next part is deploy and run your smart contracts. Okay. Here in you go these environments, it's the JavaScript virtual machine environments are there, then injected Web3 are there. So for this injected Web3, it's the it chooses what are the wallets we are using. They are taking that MetaMask accounts here. Here in the drops and test networks, I used the 3 networks. From the 3, which I used the default one previously. So they are taken that account for transfer, you deploy your smart contracts. If you not install that MetaMask, you can choose that JavaScript virtual machines. Okay. So first I start with the basic smart contract implementations. So for when you are going to create your Solidity file, you just click the test. Inside the test, you create the new file. So I click on that create the new file and give that file name SRM workshop.sol. So whenever you are creating your Solidity file, you save that file name, extension will be .sol. And here you start with so for this Drachma Solidity 0.7.6, it represents that Solidity compiler versions. So in this compiler, we've seen lot of versions. So I used 0.7.6. Then next step, I create my smart contract. So for that contract, that's the keyword for creating that smart contract. Then I give the contract name. So first contract is the my contract name. So in this smart contract, I simply specify the name. So string public workshop equal blockchain. Okay, so here I declare the variables string public workshop equal blockchain. Here string is the data type, then public is access modifier, workshop is the variable name, blockchain is the variable value. So I compile this program. So for compilation, I click here. So compile srm workshop.sol file. So I click that. So it's successfully compiled. After compiling that program, I go with the deployment and run transactions. So I deploy smart contract in here. Defaultly JavaScript virtual machines are there. I choose the default one and deploy my contract. So this is the contract details. So this is transaction cash and from and true address. Just I deployed that contract. So in this account, there is lot of test ethers will be there for virtual machines. You can choose any one. Okay, then transaction cost and execution cost, cash values, input values are there. Okay, so these are all the transaction details. So here you click here. So first contract. This is the my smart contract. I click over there. So workshop is there, no? So it's here I given that public. So that's why it's displayed that workshop string here. I click on that. So it's displays the value what that workshop is contains the blockchain. Okay. Participants, up to this, you have any queries? Yes, participants. Up to this, you have any queries? So shall I move on to the next part?
Yes, sir. Proceed, sir.
Yeah. So next I taken that banking application. Okay. So smart contract, I changed that name is WhatsApp bank. Okay. So I created the workshop. So this statement it's for creating the banking application. Smart contract. So in this, I check the bank balance, then deposit, and withdraw. So three functions I include. So for these three functions, I declare the variables integer integers balance equal 0. So initially that bank account balance will be 0. I declare like that. So next I create the function for check bank balance. So check bank balance or account balance. So here I created that function checking the balance amount. Okay, so for balance amount, it will be returns the values. So for that return type, it's the integer value because you need to return the balance. So return balance. But here you are not display any modifier, whether it's public or private. So I use that public. Then I given view option to everyone. So public view returns. Okay. So I compiled this program. The program was successfully compiled. Then I deployed that. For deployment, I defaultly use the JavaScript virtual machine. Then deploy that program. It's deployed. So I check for this smart contract for previous one. I'm not deleted. Here it's recently created smart contract WhatsApp bank. So check balance will be there. I click on that. So initially we are declared the balance is 0. So it's the 0 balance. So for next function, now I deleted all the contracts. So next, deposit the money. So for that function, deposit. So I put this here public. So when I am depositing, so I add the balance. So here I declare the integer. So balance equal balance plus money. Okay, so again now I completed the deposit functions. Again I compile that program. Then I deploy this smart contract. So I deployed that smart contracts details are there. Sir, you check it here. First you check the balance. So it's initially 0. Then again I deposit contract in that account. So here, whenever you are doing the transactions, all the transactions are recorded here. You see the transactions details. So status, true transaction mined and executed. This the transaction cash values. Then from address to true, then gas transaction cost, cash functions values, input and decoded input message and decoded output. Okay, so I deposited. Again, I click that balance. Now that balance is changed to 100. Okay, so the third function, withdraw the money. So function withdraw. So integer money. Then I put the public view. So once you withdraw, first you check your balance amount is greater than the withdraw. Greater than withdraw money value. Okay. So if it is true, you can withdraw your money. Then balance equal balance minus money. In case the withdraw amount is higher than the balance, it reject the transactions. For that, you use the revert functions to show the error message for the transactions. Balance is low, so you cannot withdraw the money. So now I compile that code. So now I created all the functions for balance, checking the balance, then deposit the money and withdraw the money. So I deployed the smart contracts. So smart contract was deployed. So this the previous smart contract. I deleted that one. Then I deployed. So this is the new smart contract. So deposit, withdraw, uncheck balance. Now I check that balance, it's initially 0. Then deposit money, initially I put 500 for the deposit and I check that balance. So it's the 500. So next I withdraw 300. So the transactions are executed. I check the balance. That balance amount is 200. So now the balance is 200. So I want to again withdraw 300 means. So I withdraw 300. What it shows, you check it here. The transact to workshop.bank.withdraw error. So it shows the error message. The transactions was not completed. So like this, in your project, you can use the smart contract based upon your conditions. Whether that certain condition is true, then only your transaction will be completed. Okay. So for this now here every transactions, now I just deposit again one more 500. So now I check that balance. So now it's 700. So these are all the transaction details. Now I copied that transaction address. Then I check with the Grafton.Etherscan what it shows. So it shows, it does not show the now transactions. Okay, just now only I done the transaction, but it's not shown in that Rapson users can, because we are used that virtual machines, not the Rapson network. So in Remix, I want to use the Rapson networks. Means, so I delete that previous smart contracts. So I choose the injected web3. So it takes my Rapson network address. Within this part, I deploy bank bending. So for the Rapson networks, it's asked for that smart contract deployment. So it's defaultly, it takes Bala account. Okay, I created 4 account in my Rapson networks. It's defaultly take that Bala. Then I confirm that transactions. So it takes few seconds to deploy your smart contracts in the Rapson test network. So the creation of workshop bank bendings. That workshop bank is your smart contract. So it takes minimum 1 minute time to deploy your smart contract. Now, so now it's deployed in the Rapson network. So you check that deposit withdraw money. So check balance, initially it's 0. Then I deposit 1000. So for whenever you are triggering your functions, so each and every time it's asks the confirmations. So I confirm the transactions. And now I go to my MetaMask. So now it's I call that deposit function now. Function, so that function it's bending. Yeah. So the transaction was successful. So it shows that from address and to address for all the transaction details and what's your input values also. So now you check with the Remix. So you copy this address and check with the ether scan. So in 3 minutes ago, the deposit function it works. Then you check with the transactions details. So the transaction gas function, the status of the transaction is successful. Then from address and to address, then what, how much the transaction fees are done, then gas limits, then nonce values, then what the input data. So I decode my input data. I think it, so there I given the 1000 as the input data. So in this way you can deploy your smart contracts in Solidity. As in participants, you have any queries? Yes.
Participants, if you have any query, please unmute yourself and you can ask your queries.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon, ma'am.
Actually, sir, you have, you have declared the functions, and at the time of running, you are actually invoking by yourself, no? But how automatically it should be invoked? For that, how the function is to be called automatically? If when
Yes,
I am
ma'am.
writing.
So for that function called, you use that constructors.
Okay. Because say for example, when the transaction is to be performed,
Yes.
for example, if the user is giving some choices, so the user is going to have performing deposit alone. Okay, so that time he is interested in deposit alone, then automatically how the function is to be called. In the same code itself we are going to write it, or else are we going for another one file to call these functions?
I mean that same code itself.
In the same code itself we are going to
Yeah.
call the functions.
Yes.
Oh, okay sir. Okay. Oh.
Yeah. Is any other queries?
If you have any other queries, you can unmute yourself and you can ask the question.